So we're going live. I'm gonna just give me a second.
Oh, live on Facebook.
Yeah, just give me a second. I think it's happening.
I've got a little thing up in my thing that says live on Facebook.
Oh.
Meaning now streaming live on Facebook.
Hold on, it says redirecting to Facebook Live. I've never done this before. I don't know what that means. Let's see what's on Phoenix's page. Oh, I'm live already. We're here. This is it. Okay, let me go back to my Zoom. Okay. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Phoenix.
Thanks for entertaining my vision of Phoenix in quarantine and being my first guest.
You're so welcome.
It's been really, yeah, it's good.
It's a pleasure to be here, my darling.
Yeah, and again, like we were just talking about before we went live, you know, I have no idea. I don't really know how this goes, but it's been really important for me to just show up, you know, to just keep showing up with whatever is alive and moving. And I know you in particular, you've been such a dear friend, dear sister on my path these past many years, though in particular these past months while I've been away. And so I guess really today it's like I'd like to just talk about what it's been like for you being in kind of in quarantine these past few months, and how has your life changed, and like since these restrictions have come into place, and mainly it's like I really want to understand like what the juices that you've been receiving from this kind of stopping of the external. And as I know you, because we've been in touch, you know, this like going in. And so I'm curious, like let's just keep it to these past 3 months, you know, because this is the time. Let's just keep it to these past 3 months to make it, just to kind of keep it a little simpler. So how has your life changed since being in this like more restrictive area, or restrictive way of being? I don't even know how to put it.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's interesting, like as you were speaking and you were talking about quarantine, and I was witnessing all the different things come up in me about like what's changed. And you know, I think I also heard in your question, I don't know if you said it's like also what I've been learning as well over the past months. And you know, I guess the most remarkable part of this whole year, both quarantines, both sides, in both autumn and in winter, is just how it's given me this opportunity to really sink my roots even deeper into my visions, you know, into what I want to create. And it's given me the time and the space to really see like what's important and like what my mission is here on earth. Yeah. And you know, that's and everybody has, as you well know, you know, everybody has their little piece of the puzzle that contributes to the greater community, you know, whether it's the community that we live in or in our street or even in our homes, and then as a global community. And you know, my passion in the garden and where I come alive in planting and being in tune with the seasons, you know, that has been the biggest. I mean, I've known that and I've been practicing that for so many years, but I feel like I got like the birthday cake of opportunity, you know, to be like, and here's all the time and here's all the space and here's all the opportunity for you to just be in the garden and build the dreams and, you know, have my hands in the soil all the time, you know. And that's been wonderful, you know. It's created enough time for me to really see that that's where I feel like most at peace, most present. I receive like the biggest downloads, you know. I understand life through the garden and through the seasons so deeply and so profoundly, and it never stops teaching me. You know, if I take my eyes off the garden for a week, like just even in the we've got an apple tree out there, and I've recently been navigating the space of a broken heart, you know, through a breakup that's occurred about 3 weeks ago. And so, you know, I took my eyes off the garden for a moment, and within a week, I was like, wow, the blossoms are now leaves, you know, and then that's going to become fruit, and then, you know, and it's just been amazing to see how quickly things change, you know, when we're present to it, you know.
Yeah, and I'm curious. Yeah, like I know, you know, you've been with me for like all the events, and you're just always so busy and mumming and working and projecting, and
Yes.
now that like that kind of was taken away, like do you feel like, yeah, it's like, do you have any desire to return to that busyness?
Never, no. And I think, like, you know, in letting go of like the events work, and you know, even letting go of spaces such as the Facebook space and Instagram and social media and all those places that really like encourage busyness and consuming and all that kind of stuff, you know, that's something that I've been consciously doing in the last 2 years. And again, I feel like this has been that next like switch of like, oh, good, and you can let that go, and you can let that go, and you can let that go. I think the biggest thing that keeps me busy nowadays, honestly, is just keeping up with friendships and families and connections, and ensuring that I'm offering like some sense of maintenance into those spaces, you know. That's, you know, and I work because I have to work, and even now I'm still exploring, you know, I'm employed 2 days a week. I'm a teacher, and that's really great. That kind of keeps everything afloat. It's my bread and butter. But yeah, I have absolutely no desire to return to a world of marketing and busyness for the sake of busyness. You know what I mean? It's been a great time for rest and rejuvenation, and learning how to rest. And I think, you know, when you said it's, you know, when you wanted to hear about like the second lockdown, you know, that was a time.
The first lockdown too. Like, there's no rules here.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that the most recent one, and the one that I guess is so fresh in my experience is the winter lockdown, and how nourishing that was. And during the winter, I was journeying quite deeply with a beautiful human, who, yeah, and he was doing he's got like rest and like not doing like down to a fine art. Like his shit's all together, so everything's in order, and it's easy for him to do that. And he took some time off work, and he deliberately. So, but yeah, he really taught me how to really stop, you know. And that was such amazing medicine to receive, through him and through our connection. Was just like, oh God, this is how you do it. This is how you just do nothing. You can just drink tea and sit by the fire and lay down and read, and, you know, all those things that are so like, well, for me, I just don't make enough time for them. I think even when I do make time to rest, I still find myself tinkering. I'm one of these tinkering people. I can't leave things alone. You know, I'm like, oh, and now I can do that. I've created all this space for rest, but oh, then now I can do this, and now I can do that. You know,
I'm
tinkering.
curious. I'm curious because knowing you, you know,
Yeah.
and if I may, you know, like the
Yeah.
knowing in my experience how sometimes it has been challenging for you in the past to kind of like really feel like the deeper emotions that were like owie, you know. And I'm curious if like in slowing down, if like if you've had that opportunity, and I know you have because we've been in connection, but it's like, how has that been changing for you? Because I can feel this like dropping down, where it's like in the past the busyness was so prevalent that it's like the deeper feelings, the longings, the realities of your mom being, you know, having been going through cancer treatment and all that stuff that was really painful to kind of face.
Mm.
I'm just curious if in this slowing down and forgive me for being so blunt, but this is actually like, this is the stuff that I feel I really want to be getting to, you know, like the humaning that
Yeah.
we so often kind of hide because it's like, it's too intense. There's no time to really feel our fucking feelings or our wounding. And not that it's about the wounding, but it's like just the freedom that comes in allowing ourselves to be more fully human.
Yeah.
And I know you know that because you're a ceremony woman and you go there, though it feels like the ceremony has kind of popped out of the ceremony space and into the life of the ceremony of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious if I may kind of poke a little bit in there, how that's been for you. Um,
Yeah, interesting. Thanks for asking.
that softening, you know, the softening of the walls that kind of kept you like, I've got my shit together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, thank you. Um, yeah. So I guess like speaking to like the perception that you have of me not feeling my emotions deeply or having a wall up or something like that, you know, for me it's I don't think I've ever really well, I probably have, you know, but I feel like I have been and I have able to connect and go to the deeper places within myself, but it's allowing that to be witnessed by others that I don't necessarily allow, I guess.
And that's what I mean. Like
Yeah,
in our whole time of being friends,
yeah,
I feel like it's actually in these past few months,
mm,
like in my perception,
yeah,
it's in these past few months of lockdown
mm,
that I've felt more like I've felt a deeper invitation to witness you in your like in your softness and your struggle as well as your greatness. You
yeah,
know, as in the past, it was like if something was moving for you, you'd be like, I gotta go, you know, like
yeah,
I need to take my space because it was a
yeah,
very personal space. But
yeah,
I'm just curious because I'm noticing that shift. I've noticed that shift, and I can attest that most of our sisters that we're in deep communication with have also noticed that shift. So I would love
yeah.
to hear what that's
Yeah.
been like for you.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I have to give kudos because it's like it's through our sisterhood, you know, of those women that I see, you know, showing up. You as well, and some other people who I won't name. Yeah, but you know, that really that share all of it, you know, and say I want to be witnessed in this and I want to be held in this, and it's through witnessing my sisters show up in that way and having the trust, you know. I think that one of the big things for me in life is that I don't really and it does bring up I'm feeling it here, you know. I find it very difficult to trust that people will show up and people will be there, you know what I mean. And I think in this most recent experience that I'm still navigating, it's still pretty fresh, it's played right into that wound, you know. But the best thing about it is that in no part of that relationship did I give myself away. I remained true to myself. I was myself completely, you know what I mean? And that's what I learned, you know. My previous relationship was like 3.5 years ago and I lost myself completely. So then when the rug was pulled out, like I kind of, whoa, I went into like, whoa, like who the fuck am I? And I've been working on myself so much, you know, these last years that I feel like I know who I can trust now. And you know, and I know that my sisters, like you lot, you're fucking there for me. Do you know what I mean? And it's been such a blessing to have lost this small part of my life that was this winter romance, and then just to actually be like, I'm so fucking loved and supported anyway. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, shame about the sex, but you know, like I'm fucking, everything's great, and it's been beautiful to just go into the depths of the of the pain and the loss, you know. And it's been, you know, as I think I might have expressed to you on another day, it's like going into my heart space, you know, into the depths of it all. It's been like like you go into the velvety night, but like within the velvety night there's all these like shimmering stars, you know, of like beauty and radiance, and feeling the depths of my pain and my emotion, which is actually just another representation of the love that I feel. You know, it's been exquisite in so many ways. And yeah, and having the space to do that, you know, has been really great. And also having the support of my dear housemates as well, who are just fucking real. You know, my sister Hannah, who I live with, like she's just family. You know, it's yeah, so I have, and I think, you know, the relationship, after being so kind of closed and skeptical and like, oh, I'm not, oh, I don't trust anyone, and then just allowing myself to open into this relationship and making love for the first time in so many years and all that kind of stuff, it has softened me. It's reminded me of like of my beauty and my radiance and my magnetism and my sensuality and my sexuality and my creativity, and just like all these divine female aspects that I thought that I didn't embody. And I was like, oh, actually, fuck, no, I'm gorgeous. Like, you know, not just like the way that I look, but like this I don't know, there's something else, this sensuality that I, you know, feel very much connected to now, has most certainly softened me.
Yeah, what a gift. What a
Yeah.
gift I've received. And yeah, like just the I really love hearing you say this, like recognizing the people that you can trust. You know, like I was having a conversation with my housemate this morning, and also with my coach, my Morpheus, after that, before this call. And like this morning has been really full of like feeling and emoting, and yeah, just meeting these tender parts of myself, and recognizing like what a big, like how courageous it is to trust. Your screen is frozen, darling. I'm not sure why. Hopefully you'll come back. So I'll just keep going until you return, Kel. Maybe we can. Oh, she hung up. So maybe she'll return in a second. But I'm gonna keep going with that around just the trusting piece of like how through heartbreak and inconsistency, what I've been meeting in myself is through heartbreak and in any inconsistency of particular relationships in my life, how there's this diminishing of trust. I'm just gonna check if Kelly will come back. I'm just gonna send her a little message. Yeah, this diminishing of trust that that has been really painful to feel like people that I've trusted in the past, or people that I've known in the past, that like I've lost trust in them. I've lost trust in them. Like my heart has lost trust in them based on like an inconsistency, and how I'm realizing more and more. I'm a little distracted, I'm going to acknowledge, because internet's a bit wonky here in the quarantine room, and I want Kelly to come back. Foils my plan, and that's okay. I'm just going to keep showing up. How important it is for my heart to open, to feel like there's consistency there, and people that I can trust, and people that I can rely on. And there's this edge that I feel inside of myself, like kind of like, oh, I'm sovereign and I'm independent and I don't need to have somebody there. I can take care of myself. Though actually the reality is like, oh no, no, I need people to see and to support and to hold me in those moments where I just need to be soft and I need to fall apart a bit more. Okay, she's coming back. It was her battery. And how for so many years there was this kind of story, this perception, she's coming back, this story or this perception that I could only find that in a partnership, or this that partnership. I'm just talking, Kel, about something about trust, about how, you know, partnership or relationship or marriage or some committed relationship was the only way to get that consistency, or that where I could trust people to really hold me, all of me. And in these past years that I've been single and I haven't been in a partnership, or that I came out of a deeply committed relationship, how there was this loss and this grief of like, oh, I don't have somebody to hold me in that.
Mm.
However, what I've been realizing, like Kelly, that was where it kind of was inspired by, is that, you know, in the in the heartbreak, my walls came down as well. And 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 I got to see, and I continue to see, how the more I allow myself to be soft, that there are people that want to keep showing up
Yeah.
to hold that part of myself. And that though there might not be like a one partner, that I'm not in a partnership at the moment, that it doesn't mean that my heart and my vulnerability is not or cannot be held by the people that I love. And that what I thought, like the one person, or that there's this one partner that is the one that's going to be consistent and always there, that I can trust with everything, how that has actually expanded. And now there's like a handful of people that I know that I can trust and that can hold me. And, you know, like we had that experience a couple of days ago where I was freaking out and losing my shit about coming back to Melbourne, and the decision to, you know, shift my reality a bit in Melbourne, and how that was really bringing me so much fear and grief, and like, oh, am I making the right decision? And you just really showing up, like, for me, and just kind of speaking to a part of myself that needed to hear what you had to say. So that like vulnerable, broken, insecure, doubtful, afraid part of myself, you came in and you just like held her. And like, and that for me has been huge, as it seems, you know, and you mentioning, like, to know that there's people that I can trust
Mm.
and that I can rely on, because that actually allows me to keep softening, where I don't have to hold it. It's like being fucking strong, as I'm sure you know, is tiring.
Yeah.
And this kind of like, I want to be in partnership because then I can soften, then I can finally soften. And yes, like, I do desire to be in partnership where there is a meeting, an alignment, a match, a shared mission with another person. And also, simultaneously and in the interim, while I am currently in like in a single, you know, experiencing my life out of partnership, that there are so many different people there that I can collapse into their arms. And that is fucking gold.
It's,
So gold.
and I think, like, on that, I think I think it actually makes us better partners long term as well, because if we have a collection of people who we have an intimate partnership with, of sorts, you know, it doesn't have to include a sexuality component to it. I feel like it actually, you know, the parts where maybe our partner, you know, can't support us in, we can lean into our other friends who can see that part of us, or hold that part of us. You know what I mean? Like, it's I think it makes for healthier dynamics in partnership, to have intimate relationships with more than one person, you know. And when I say intimate relationships, I mean like the intimate relationship you and I have, where we can witness each other's vulnerability, where we know we can trust each other, where we can reach out, where we can be seen in our mess and our ugliness and all the icky parts, you know.
Also, I feel like it kind of like relieves some of the burden from the partner as well, because I know, you know, having been married, and like the way in which like that beautiful brother kind of held so like everything, you know, it was my brother, he was my lover, it was my husband, he was my father, it was my therapist and my friend, like everything, you know, because I didn't have this awareness at that time. And what a burden that was, you know. And I know that now, you
Yeah.
know. And how in future relationships, how it's kind of like, yeah, like this partner then becomes part of this team,
Mm-hmm.
part of this team of support that kind of can hold me, that can hold you, that can witness you, that can stoke the flame. It's like, it's not, it's, yeah, it's like the village. You know, it's not only takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to sustain an adult as well. And it takes a village to sustain a relationship as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that I definitely learned through the breakup of my marriage, is that, you know, that marriage wasn't held in community. It's like I went to all of my friends to kind of talk about my grievances and to kind of be witnessed in that, but never was it like a community supporting this relationship. And as I'm growing and I'm maturing, and I see the value of that now as an adult, as an individual, the value of being supported in a village where my, like, the wholeness, my fullness, my bigness, my messiness can be held. It's like, wow, you know, like, what a gift that could be to relationship, to partnership, that we have that courage to bring that into the witnessing as well.
Yeah. And that's a huge edge for the majority of people. Just want to name that. That it was funny. Hannah said to me that our community, like our friends and things like that, and what goes on with our people, it's like it's a very niche. It's a niche weird. You know what I mean? Like we're a bunch of weirdos, but it's very niche. It's very like, yeah. I can't imagine most of the people in the world would love their community to hold them in all their relationship grievances. But I'm on board with what you're sharing. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's just an exploration, and I'm very clear that I'm not most of the world.
totally.
Like I've come to accept that I'm my own sort of weird, as you are.
Yeah.
And like, my vision for this kind of unity and community, and because like I was talking about it with my coach this morning, is kind of like, oh, this deep longing in me to be in partnership, and also this part of myself that's kind of like, oh, well, maybe I don't really, because I don't, it's like almost like this embarrassment that I want to be in partnership when I know that I've got all this love and support around me.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess it's this fear of kind of going back into old ways of being within a partnership that was fraught with like the burden and the kind of projecting all of this stuff. Whereas now that I've kind of grown and expanded, it's kind of like, how do I take what I've learned about myself and about the way that I can like trust other people to hold me, and bring that back into like whatever iteration of partnership, like what partnership might look like for me in future. And
Yeah.
owning that I can have that, I want both ends. You know, I want to be in a committed partnership, and I want to be part of a committed community as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that feels really vulnerable.
I support the vision
It
for
feels really
all of
vulnerable.
us, for all of us.
Yeah, it feels so vulnerable to actually even just claim that, because again, like I said, you know, and I like had an hour of like unpacking that with Morpheus. I call him, and it's like this almost this unworthiness that I can have both, you know, or like this, I'm not grateful if I don't acknowledge all of the ways that love is meeting me in every moment. But yet there is this deeper desire to be on a shared mission with somebody, with like a particular someone, and I don't even know who that is or what that might look like, but to just keep on anchoring into that, like, oh yeah, like I actually do really want this.
Yeah.
And I want to be in a, I want to be met by reflections that honor and value this way of being. Like, yeah, like we can be together in our vulnerabilities and in our greatness and in our strength, and there's nothing that we need to hide, which is kind of the premise behind doing these lives from quarantine. You know, it's like, how often do I hide all of my insecurities and my doubt to like, because I got to kind of show up as the facilitator or like the ceremony, the medicine woman. And it's like, no, actually, I'm both ends. I'm all of it, as are you.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I can really relate to that sense of unworthiness, and I've kind of had it as like, oh, like, like, oh, is it even possible? Like, oh, it's just a fairy tale, like, to think that you can have it all, you can have like a great community and a great relationship and like everything functioning as well. And that's what I sometimes feel like that. I'm like, oh yeah, like I've got everything. Like my co-parenting relationship's great, my house is great, like everything's awesome. Like my fucking life is incredible and I love it. And yeah, there does feel like there's that little That's something. It's something to do with the cuddles.
Yeah. Hey.
It's yeah. It's that that connection of the heart. Where it's almost like it's like the nest. It's like some kind of it's like everything's great and it's awesome. We've got the house, but it's like this. It's the micro something that is like the resting place of being in the embrace of of a loving intimate partner. It's something else, and I'm sure anybody who's continued to to watch this up until now could probably relate to that feeling of the safety that is experienced when you're being held by somebody who adores you, you know,
And I
that
think again,
not just a best friend. There's
both
something else.
it's the both ends. And I'm curious, I know you and I we're on like parallel yet different journeys. It's like, what is it that kind of inside of ourselves that is actually ready to claim our not only desire to have it all, though our worthiness to have it all. And I feel like what I'm realizing personally is kind of meeting those parts of myself that, like the tender parts, the parts that still are grieving what was, or
Yeah.
that are grieving the dismantling of the Disney fairy tale, or and just, yeah, really this recalibration, that like who I'm becoming and who you're becoming. It's like I am more whole, I am more fulfilled in myself. Like I don't need these extras, and it's okay to want, because it's like I don't need anything outside of myself to be complete or whole, because I
Yeah.
am whole and complete.
Yeah.
And it's like uh I can be more, that I can be more so, like I think there's this book, I don't remember, The Honeymoon Effect, I read many years ago. He calls it like a supernova, like not these two individuals that are kind of trying to complete one another, but like these two whole individuals that come together and create a supernova. And
Oh,
not only in like an intimate partnership, like with a beloved, but it's like in general with my people.
yes.
And that's what I feel you and I and most of the people in our in intimate circle, where we're stand for, like being whole, taking responsibility to be whole human beings, and then like being supernovas together.
Yeah, it's so fun. The shit that we can co-create when we're, like when we're not doing it by ourselves. It's like, yeah, it's amazing. And and just speaking to that aspect, there's like, because I think that's what you've said as well, and it's something that I feel is like, I feel like this sense of shame in wanting what I want.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like, because like, maybe it's like the feminist movement or whatever it is, it's like, oh, we don't need, this part of us that's like this other program that's told us like we don't need anyone, we can do it all alone, and la 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 la. There's like the shame in the softness, and there's a shame in the vulnerability, and there's the shame in like the desire, and this stigma around like neediness or something, neediness, like what the fuck is neediness? The neediness, yeah, like, yeah, I have some needs. I have a need for fucking someone to show up and communicate what they're actually, like, the truth of what they're feeling. Like that's a need of mine,
And
actually.
also, like, I find that's something that because I've been doing a lot of research on attachment styles these past
Yeah.
couple of months, that I know I'm probably mentioned to you, and like around my dad and my former relationships, and how I kind of have this tendency to lean towards anxiousness, where you
Mhm.
probably have this tendency to lean more towards avoidance, and maybe both. I have both as well, and I'm not trying to point the finger. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, it's like there is this part of myself that sometimes feels needy,
Yeah.
and rather than like expecting like you got to take care of my needs, it's like, okay, how can I just honor, like right now I'm feeling needy.
Yeah.
and even just acknowledging that,
Yeah.
like I'm feeling needy, and just reaching out and saying, hey, I'm feeling this kind of anxiety arise, I'm feeling needy, like, do you have time for a chat, or do you have time for a cuddle, or like I just need to be held, I just need to be heard, or it's like the more I can take self responsibility for my needs, you know and express them to other, it's like I'm covering my bases, and I want to trust that there are reflections out there, and I know there are, the people that I'm meeting, the people that I surround myself, people who are willing to, yeah, like lean in, like like I was listening to something the other day, and the Chinese character for human, it's like it looks like two sticks coming together, but if you kind of like unpack the symbology of this Chinese character for human, it's actually two humans leaning in
Oh,
to
that's
stand
cute.
straight. And that's what I really like. I'm learning to welcome that. I'm willing to lean in as far as the people around me are willing to hold, like to lean in, so
I know,
that neither one of us is falling over.
yeah, but then when you date an avoidant attachment person, like when you just fucking lean and
Yeah, but I mean, the more that we learn how to navigate with,
yeah,
because they have needs as well, so,
totally.
and that's like part of being in relationship. It's like I recognize the parts of my friends that have these avoidant tendencies, because it's like, oh, anxious and avoidance, they don't seem to kind of match at all. It's just kind of like not, but it's like I've only mainly, it's like, how can I, again, leaning in, like the avoidant person knows that I'm anxious, and they learn techniques on how to lean in to meet me. And I learn how to and I learn that somebody is avoidant. So how do I lean in to meet them? But again, it's like the more we can be willing to meet one another, then that creates security,
Yeah.
because ultimately we're all seeking to be securely attached within ourselves. And I'm such a novice at this attachment stuff, but I have been really fascinated by it, though, that none of us are victims to our programming, that we
No,
all have the capacity to become securely attached. Though the
totally.
more we can take responsibility for the areas in which we are still kind of have this programming, we can actually, yeah, like heal and become whole, and acknowledge and work together with each other. So
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess like it's you need two to tango in that. And I guess, with my experience at the moment, I'm definitely working alongside an avoidant style, and not me this time, but and it's like it's the curiosity about how to meet this person. I'm halfway and giving all the space, like weeks of space, and then being like, well, there's a need in me to like tie up this thing in a good way, like so I can move on, but I feel like there's like these dangly bits that I'm just like, oh, they're such a mess, I just want to clean them up and do it in a good way. But if you're journeying with somebody who's not familiar with all the hippie stuff that we do, it's a little bit trickier because it's all new terrain, and it's like, I don't know what I'm saying. It's just, yeah, it takes a pair of conscious people to be able to want to meet in that, to want to be able to witness themselves and be like, if you're an avoidant and an attachment, an avoidant and a anxious person, like finding the middle ground, you know what I mean? Like, hey, and I think that's, because I've done some reading and things on these ideas as well. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm meant to say, but it's like time frames and things like that. Like the anxious person needs like some kind of solid like time frame. Like if it's 3 weeks, cool. I think the anxious person can work with 3 weeks, but like having like an open-ended, like, I'll talk to you soon, and then like a month goes by and you've heard nothing, I think it's difficult to feel met. And then I think, yeah, learning how to meet our needs in ourselves
yeah, that's
becomes,
what I was gonna say. It's
yeah,
like this curiosity of, it's kind of like, oh, you know, requesting,
yeah,
making a request, like leaning in. My dear friend Susanna, she's been talking about, it's like just this 1% more,
yeah,
leaning in a little bit more. But again, it's kind of like, this is how as far as I can lean in, and then it's okay, like it's not being met, and so just
yeah,
kind of coming home and doing that work on the inside, because ultimately you and I are responsible for our own selves and how we are showing up. And then like the disempowerment that comes when I'm, giving more than feels like more than my lean.
Yeah, totally.
I'm
Yeah,
being okay with that, because that actually what I've been finding is just the more it's all just an invitation to keep seeing myself more clearly. And it's all
100%.
an invitation to be like, oh, that's how I used to over lean in the past. And
Yeah,
now I'm not going to over lean. And that is what actually I find is shifting patterns is by kind of, we kind of go around in this spiral, and then we have the opportunity, oh, here's this pattern again.
yeah.
Am I going to just keep following this pattern, or am I going to, oh no, I see it.
You're up.
I see it this time. I really, really see it this time.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna make a conscious decision to choose to do something different.
totally.
And the fear that comes and like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, because I've been such a almost like a slave, or just like a robot. I'm just in that old program. And that's kind of where I'm at now, as it seems, you are too. With this increased awareness comes this increased responsibility, where we get to actually choose, oh, I'm going to do it differently this time. And the
Totally.
shakiness that comes with that.
And fuck, it takes a fuck ton of courage to actually like make the move. You know what I mean? Like, and to actually make the request and think, and or, lean in that little bit when, especially if there's like almost a certainty of being rejected, but it's like, it's the honoring of self by leaning that 1% more, like to honor that need in yourself to actually express that thing,
Yeah.
without putting it onto somebody else,
Yeah.
like
Also,
it's like the dance.
it's like, and if we're not met, then to just kind of be okay with the grief that might come with that, or the sadness or the disappointment. And again, not projecting it out onto somebody else, like, you did this to me. It's like,
No.
no, you're just being you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking responsibility to feel, oh, that's what this disappointment feels like. Okay, honey, I love you, little Phoenix.
Yeah.
I love you, little Kelly. Again, and that's what my coach was telling me today. It's like, it's always just an invitation to keep loving myself more, and showing up for myself more, and claiming what it is that I need and what I want more, so that this is like who it is that we walk through the world with. And then these are what kind of draws those reflections towards us when we are a stand for who we are, or who we know ourselves to be, or who we want to be. Or it's like we become these magnets. And that's cool, because I've magnetized you.
Totally. And you know what? A dear friend, actually, a dear brother, actually said to me the other day, it's pretty sweet. He came up to me and he was like, so I just want you to know that, like, when we began, because we're only quite recent friends, he said, I actually thought that, we could, that, I think he had a thing for me. I think that's what he was trying to tell me, but I was with this other man. And he's like, I just want you to know that, because I want you to know that, I'm the kind of person that you're attracting, like, and because he's quite self-assured and confident and good looking and charming and spiritual, and he's beautiful, he's gorgeous. He's like, I want you to know that, you're attracting me, so like good things are coming to you, like you're, like he was that reminder to be like, you're good, girl, like don't even worry, like, and it was just so beautiful. And I've actually had quite a few like brothers, like, which has been a part of that softening and allowing people in. Like I've been really, I have been reaching out to my brothers in this time to just get some insight from a man's perspective. Honestly, like I've just felt like that's been necessary for my growth, and just, just getting a range of experience anyway. But like even my blood brother, just giving me these really affirming feedback on, it's all good, like there's nothing wrong, nothing wrong
Nothing wrong with you.
like,
nothing wrong with me. We just keep on growing and learning, and inevitably we grow through heartache sometimes, and that's okay. You
And
know,
it's so beautiful. It's actually so beautiful. Like I'm so grateful for the winter that I had, and just like we were calling it at the time, we were calling it like a COVID miracle. You know, just coming back to being in lockdown, it was a COVID miracle because we had like this juicy like fireside naked romance like all through the winter, and it was amazing. And it was yeah, and I learned so much about myself because it was the first time in many years that I had been in an intimate space with somebody for a significant amount of time, and I was
yeah.
like, yeah, I'm great. Like I'm a good person to
Yay.
be in a
Yeah.
relationship with, you know. So yeah, so just wanting to reflect back to you, Phoenix, like I just admire your courage and your beauty and your radiance and your ability to express. It's such a gift for all of us, you know, to the way that you show up, you know, and live so authentically and so express like you doing these Facebook lives. It's amazing to just let yourself be seen. And so thank you so much for all that you do to support us and our community and our growth through just simply being you in all of your magnificence, in all the many layers and facets that are you. Thank you for letting us see you in all of it. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you for being my first guest and
Pleasure.
hanging out with me here in quarantine. I'm gonna go. I've got another date
Right?
with a beautiful brother.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I love you so much, sister. I
Love
appreciate you so much. And I know that we'll be talking again later or tomorrow. And
you. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
bless
I
you.
love you, darling.
I love
Bye,
you.
Facebook world. I don't know if anyone watched, but
I don't know either. Haven't been paying attention, but I'm just again, we just keep showing up, sister.
totally. Why not?
I love you.
Love you too. Bye,
Bye.
babe.